I'm Carolyn, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a farro salad with roasted veggies. This recipe comes from the fabulousfairsisters.com, and my daughter is marrying the woman who made this recipe, Linda Blodo. So let's get started together. We're going to go ahead and turn a pot on, and we're going to add 4 cups of water. 4 cups of water. And once that boils, we're going to add our farro. So let's let that boil for a minute. Get that warmed up. Let's go ahead and put our oven on bake 450 so that way we can roast our veggies. So let's start with our veggies. And I have a large carrot. Now the recipe does call for 3 large carrots, but as you can see this is huge. So we're going to does ask for it to be cut diagonally. So let's go ahead. I think it's too big. That's too big of a piece. So we're going to have to cut them in half, or maybe even quarter. Yeah, let's do that. Let's cut them in quarter. Diagonal quarters. How's that sound? So let's go ahead and quarter this giant carrot first. Okay. We get that going. And now we can diagonal. Let's do 2 pieces at the same time, just for ease. There you go. That looks about right. You don't want your pieces so big that would be uncomfortable for a guest to pick it up. That's why we had to quarter that carrot down, because that was a giant carrot. Sometimes I do like a nice big carrot to grate when I'm making a salad, something like that. All right, let's move this out of the way. We're just angling our knife, kind of like on a little bit of a diagonal there, just to give that little texture, a little pleasing to the eye. We had this salad this weekend and there wasn't a drop left, so I said I asked her for the recipe, and we're making it together for the first time. Alright, so there's our carrots. And then we're going to have a cauliflower, so I went ahead and washed that. And I'm just going to go ahead and chop that up. We'll check that water in a minute. I have it on power boil. It's not there yet. So we're just going to take off those stems there. Toss them right in the sink. And we're just going to make, again, like bite sizes. I don't like them too big. And this is a great salad to make as a dinner, or as we're doing our barbecue picnic series. This would be wonderful to bring to your host, or if you were hosting, it'd be wonderful for your vegetarians to have a nice option, or even just as a side salad. Just about good here. Any of those big chunks of the stem, we won't put that in there. Getting closer. Whew. Lost a couple pieces. Okay, that looks pretty good. A couple bigger pieces. We'll get those cut, and then we can go ahead and add those to the carrots. Okay. Now this water is boiling. Let's add half a teaspoon of salt. And then I have 2 cups of farro that I just rinsed I put in the strainer and ran some water over it and rinsed that out. So we're going to go ahead and put that right in our pot. Well, it's a little hard from the rinsing, I guess. So we will have to scrape that in there. Luckily, I have clean hands. All right, let's bring that down to a low temperature. And we'll cover that. We'll put the timer on for 20 minutes. We'll take a look at that. So let's bring our cauliflower into our container here, our bowl with our carrots. Wonderful. Great. Let's move this off to the side for a moment. So we have our cauliflower and carrots. Let's add we have 2 tablespoons of chopped rosemary. So I wanted to show you how the rosemary comes. The rosemary comes in packages like this. So when you are using your rosemary, just take off that part. Don't use that thick stem. And then you can wash that and chop it up. So I'm not going to add that because I didn't wash this. Stays better if you don't wash it. Okay, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of chopped rosemary. And we're going to add a little olive oil. That smells so good already. Let's add some salt and pepper. Now for the farro, you might run into a trouble like I did today in the grocery store. I looked over in the rice and bean area and it was not there. I had to get somebody in the grocery store to help me find it. And it was on a top shelf in the Italian area. So that's where you might want to look. So just some salt and pepper. And really we can just use our hands here. Just coat those vegetables. You might need a little bit more. Smells so good. Just going to add a little more vegetable oil. A little more. It says two tablespoons of oil with that, but you know, I'd like to add a little bit more. There we go. So now we're just going to pour that right on our cookie sheet. And we're going to go ahead and roast that in that hot oven. Now usually I roast at 425, but this recipe did say 450, so let's go ahead and leave it at 450. And it said 20 minutes, so I'm going to put it in the middle shelf. So while that's happening, let's rinse my hands off. Move this out of the way. What are we going to do next? Let's go ahead and get our peas started. So I have filled this up with water about here. And I'm just going to turn that oven on. That stove top. And once that starts to boil, we'll add our peas. Now, the recipe calls for roasted peppers. So just go ahead and rinse this off real fast. Try that too. Great. So it calls for 12 ounces of roasted peppers. Now you know normally I would pull those right out of my freezer, but believe it or not, we used all our peppers already this season. So I'm going to use about a half of this jar, which is 24 ounces. So I'm just going to go ahead and, put them Just strain them right out. I usually buy a bushel, and it's not, I don't have that many people living here anymore, but they're so good. I put them on pizza or whatever. So that's about a half a container, or 12 ounces, and I'm just going to grab my knife here, and we'll chop them up. Just chop them up in bite-sized pieces. So you can see that we're making several things happening at the same time. We have our farro on the pot, in the pot cooking. We have our roasted carrots and cauliflower in the oven. And we just used a little salt and pepper, olive oil, and rosemary for that seasoning. And now we're just chopping up our red roasted peppers. I was hoping to have the chef over, but maybe one day we'll be able to have Linda come over and teach us how to make one of her delicious recipes. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, what we can do, let's check our water for our peas. That's boiling a little too much. Let's turn this down. And that's not ready yet. So let's move on to, let's put our roasted peppers in a bowl out of the way. I thought maybe we can make our salad dressing while we're waiting. Oops, there's the peas. The water's boiling. Let's turn that down. Let's grab our peas. We're going to go with a bag of regular frozen peas. And open that bag. I would recommend a pair of scissors. Okay. And that won't take long. We'll just give that a little stir. Peas only take a few minutes. We don't want to overcook them because we like them to be tender and delicious. So let's keep an eye on that time, maybe 2 minutes. This is done. Okay, let's move this out of the way again. And let's make our salad dressing. Great. So for the salad dressing we need, I like to mix my salad dressing up in a little jar. It just makes things easy. So for this salad dressing we have a 1/4 cup of olive oil, a large clove of garlic, minced really small. Now this was a really large clove. I'm nervous to use it all, but let's stick it in there. It's a little less than a tablespoon minced. 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And if you have some zest, you can use the zest of that. About a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And between a 1/2 or a whole teaspoon of honey. I'm going to do a whole teaspoon since we use so much garlic. Plus it's a natural sweetener. Can't be that bad for us. Let's go with that. Alright. Move that off to the side, and then all we have to do is shake that up. Just checking, making sure we have everything going. Oh, I forgot our avocado. Let me grab that. does call for a nice ripe avocado at the end, so let's go ahead and slice that up. Get that ready. It's off my board again. Rinsed my avocado already. Let's take a look at things. Everything's looking okay. Now this is the Farrow I ended up purchasing. Delalo, Italian Farrow. Pearled Farrow is what the recipe calls for. Alright, and then the avocado, we'll just slice and put right in there. We're just going to score the bottom. I think I'm going to actually put it in pieces, and then if you've never used an avocado, you just use your knife, go right into that seed, pull it out, and then we're just going to dice that. I think that's all we can do while we're waiting, so we'll be back in a few minutes. Those peas are just about done, and the farro is just about done, but we'll be back in a minute. And we're back. That farro took about 25 minutes, maybe almost 30 minutes really, to cook down. We wanted all that liquid to be gone. So we're going to go ahead and take that off the stove. And we'll start by putting that in the bowl. And I did taste it just to make sure that it had a good texture, was cooked through. Okay, and now let's add our vegetables. So our roasted vegetables, I let that cook about 25 minutes. Let me switch hands. Make sure my stoves are off. We're going to go ahead and add that right to our farro. This will make better sense. It smells so good. That rosemary really gives it a distinct smell and taste. It really brings something out on this recipe. It's a good choice of seasoning. Usually I always go to garlic and onion for everything, so it's nice to use something different. And now we're going to add our peas and our roasted peppers. Okay. Now it says to gently toss it, so let's try to do that. I'm not going to use the wood spoon, I'll use a couple forks. Let's just gently toss them together. Oops. Probably could have done a little bigger bowl with this. Used a bigger bowl to mix, but I think that's working nice. As long as you have, you can see all your ingredients throughout the bowl. That looks so good. Okay. And now let's just add our lemon garlic vinaigrette. And we'll toss that a little bit more. Wow, that smells amazing. Now the final garnish would be avocado and shaved Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna not put the Parmesan in today. I'm Just going to make this totally vegetarian tonight. Let's see. But again, that's an option. So there we go. Let's go ahead and add our avocado right on top. Just mix that right in there. Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, or today. I want to show you what the finished product looks like. I'll take a picture. If you like this recipe, you can go ahead and like our page, and you can find additional recipes on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much and have a blessed day. Take care.